Hi everyone, it's Andrew from Remote Tribe here. I'm joined by Mo Aboshanab. He's an international lawyer, and we've got another episode for digital nomads and people who want to register companies whilst working remotely. This show is for remote workers and remote entrepreneurs and freelancers who want to start their own business. And we're here to answer some really, really interesting questions about tax and where to set up your company in a global context because we're becoming even more globalized now. So you want to do it right from the beginning. So I'd like to welcome our special guest, Mo. Who's an international tax lawyer, very accomplished international tax lawyer, and he's got experience with helping businesses and individuals navigating the complex world of global tax planning. We're going to be talking today about mastering a company registration and tax residency. I don't know if mastering is the right word, but anyway, it's a good start for anyone. And we're going to try and guide you on how to achieve optimal results whilst registering your company and also your tax residency. Because it's so complex, we're just going to scratch the surface, but we think we're going to give you some really good advice. So Mo, has a really good track record in advising startups and individuals, and he's got a really good understanding of the international tax regulation. So he's the right man to help you here. And we're gonna delve into key considerations about jurisdictions, taxes, and then we're also going to talk about. Living in different places whilst you operate your company in different countries. So please welcome Mo and let's get it started.
Thanks so much, Andrew. It's always a pleasure to be back in the show, wherever you are hearing the show in our different podcasters or just watching in the YouTube and different social media. We're happy always to be here and share our experience and what we have learned during the last couple of years with digital nomad, remote workers, and global citizens. Getting back to the idea that how to master company registration and tax residency. Uh, the idea is very simple. When you start uh, working as a digital nomad or as a remote worker, you just get um, this is like a shock that I'm now. I used to be living in the US or the UK or high tax country, and then by sudden I can live or work in a different total country. Why I still keep paying the same taxes, why I follow the same rules and regulation from my high tax country while I living in other country. That's when the revolution, especially after the pandemic or the lockdown, people start working from different locations. The idea that actually you have to keep paying taxes or paying whatever extra fees or extra rules you have to appoint by the country that you used to reside in is a very it was like people were not accepting it at the beginning, but now there are huge acceptance, and there's more digital nomads and more remote workers who are willing to pay. Some of them just pay zero taxes. I don't want to pay taxes at all. Why I pay tax to a country that I'm not getting any benefits
Or
about
you're
it?
not living there, or you don't want to be related to it, for example. Yeah.
Yes, there's
A-
many reasons. Yeah, there's many reasons.
and
If
and
you
and, and Mo, just to add something to that. So I think the global landscape has become even a bit more complex because you've got digital nomad visas right now, and people are very confused about where to live, how to pay taxes, where to start up the company, and all the complications that can show up from there. And two, indeed, the market has opened up even more, so there are even more possibilities now, and even more combinations of registration of companies and tax. So, yeah.
it's getting the market are it's we still in the early stages. I'm not saying that it will take at least a couple of years. You can say from 3 to 6 years until there is more solid understanding, because countries that used to be benefit from um, high taxes, now they are getting less and less from especially the digital nomads and remote workers. And countries that used to have, they are just hosting people who are actually living in the country but they are not contributing to the economy. They rent houses, they gather food, they whatever they do locally, but they are not contributing to the economy. And there's like a conflict between you can say we can say it, old economy and the remote economy. Remote economy is eating up everything, whatever we are. It's
Yeah,
like it,
especially because we know now that in Western Europe, the States, Australia, the inflation is extremely high. So people are trying to run away with geo arbitrage, earning in pounds, dollars, or Australian dollars, and then living in, for example, places where I am in Vietnam, where you can eat with like $2 a meal, an excellent meal. So obviously that thing is happening, and people are smart enough to do that.
definitely, yeah. There is more understanding that why I keep paying. I can get my income through US dollars, sterling, or euros, and I pay my local expenses, whatever it's lira, it's Thai baht, or whatever you can. I don't want to call it low currency, but I can say more affordable currency.
Yeah,
It's like,
so it is some kind of awakening that people are understanding this type of geo arbitrage, and I personally know people who do that. They're paying low taxes in some jurisdictions, and then they live somewhere else because they can, and they have money left for investments and for enjoying life.
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Hmm.
That's something, but it's when you try to do anything new, when you're trying to get out of the normal, it's a very mind stress process. You have to take it step by step. Don't just go extremely into the deep. Just try to understand, because it's a process. Once you understand the process, everything will be much more
And,
easier
and
on the
and
long
also, I
term.
think it's pretty good to clarify that things change as well with jurisdictions and taxes and law. So, one good example is Paraguay, where now the permanent residency rules have changed. So these things kind of evolve. So you have to be up to date. Just make sure that you read the news and consult some lawyers about what's the current regulation of the country you want to register your company or your tax. So, more, let's jump into the first subject we have, which is register a company offshore or in your home country. So, when should people consider offshore? Is it complicated? And should you start by registering the company in your home country and then move that or close it down and then go offshore when where is low tax?
Yeah, we need to start with defining the word offshore. I mean, when people hear the word offshore, it's come the idea that you have a stash of
Panama Papers. Yeah, yeah.
yes, all the I can get as old as the 007, where we have a couple of stash cash in the bag, and he traveling to exotic location, and he just go to the bank and put the money. And this is the idea of the offshore. Or for the other side is the extremely wealthy individuals or corrupt, you can say,
Politicians.
politicians,
Yeah.
yes, who just try to hide money outside their home country, and they put it in offshore jurisdictions beyond rules and regulation. The offshore is very simple. I will give you like a couple of examples. Um, I'm an Irish citizen. I used to live in Dublin, and I would like to register the company offshore. If I register a company in London, even London is not considered offshore, whatever that you call it. That's offshore to me. Offshore mean beyond my home country, beyond
But
my
home
borders of
country,
home country.
home country defined as
It's an
citizen
island.
of.
No, it's
Yeah.
it's 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 like it's let's take the typical idea. I'm Irish. I live in Ireland. My
Okay.
home city is Dublin. I've lived all my life there. I travel, but I never leave. I don't have any other homes or the other citizenship or passports or residency in any other world. And I decided to go and register the company in London in the UK, which is called English company, and I will manage this company from not from the UK, but from Dublin, from
From
Ireland.
Dublin.
So
Yeah.
that's an offshore company to me. Even still, it's still high taxes. Offshore doesn't have to be low taxes.
Yeah.
Offshore is
Yeah.
just like beyond your home country.
Interesting.
It's
Okay. Okay.
that's
So I think
that's
that's
the
that's pretty
definition.
simple. Yeah, I think that's pretty
That's
simple.
Yes, that's the definition. And then, so if I decided to I decided to see it's the time now. I have the experience and have the income, and I would like to see what's the option available to me to register a company beyond my country. Let's take another example. I'm a British citizen. I live in London all my life. I was born there. I pay taxes. I'm a UK taxpayer. And then I decided I have, and you can say, an income which is not coming from the UK, an income which I can receive online from the US, from the Middle East, from Asia, from different sources. It's not just coming from the UK. And what is the option available for me? the best option for you in this situation will be to register a US LLC company. It's not it's even in the US, but it have much more lower tax rate than the UK. The regulation in the US and in some states like Wyoming, Delaware, or
No worry.
Florida is much more easier than the UK or British rules or English rules. And
And Mo, let me ask you. So, when you are registering a company in a different country than your home country, do you have to prove that you're a good citizen, like some kind of file records of crime or anything like that? Is it complicated to register an offshore company?
it's depending on the location. But if, for example, the US, you don't have to prove anything. Your name would be Andrew Williams. I have. Do you have an address in UK or no?
Yeah,
You have a bank statement from there. Actually, registering the company itself, you just need a name, the fees, and a copy of your ID. That's it.
that's it. That's it.
It could
Okay.
be that's the minimum. But in some countries or some, you can say, locations or offshore, you have to provide everything about yourself, even the criminal record. So it's going from a very
Okay.
simple to a very complex.
So people should definitely check before
Yes.
registering, and they will hit
Yes.
that hole at one point, even if they don't
Yeah.
check. But there are. It depends on the location again. Yeah,
Yeah. And
there are
even
differences.
even when you register a company and the registration company doesn't ask you any questions, the bank might ask. Because it's
Okay.
steps. Once you register the company, and then you get a tax ID from the company, and then you open a bank account. Open a bank account, you can say 90% of the banks will ask for extra documents. Why you would like to register a company in a different location where you are not living in the US or not US citizen? Why? They ask. It could be as simple as asking you just fill a form with a couple of questions, or it could be as complicated as you have to provide your bank statement for the last couple of years. So
Yeah.
you
So
see the
so Mo,
difference.
if can give us can you give us a few examples of like low bureaucracy, easy to get in countries to open an offshore company, and some of the more complicated ones?
The most easier two jurisdictions or two countries I always recommend is the US and the United Arab Emirates, whatever is Dubai, Abu Dhabi, or
Hmm.
it's that's the most simple. It's depending on what you are trying to do. If you are a non-US citizen, get a US LLC. It's easier, it's cheaper, it will make your life much more easy because it's 100% remote. Okay, you can open a bank account with it. You'll be able to process like Stripe or PayPal or a similar processing account. Link it to the company, and the tax implication of how much you pay to keep the company running is a very low compared to other places.
And
Okay.
for people in the US who want to open, let's say, a subsidiary in Europe, like what country in Europe would you recommend? Is Estonia or?
No, I don't recommend Estonia for many reasons. I mean, they are very easy to manage and operate, but actually, it's not. It's if you are operating an EU business in the European Union, and you would like to
Yeah,
have a remote headquarter, Estonia is one of the, I don't say the best, one places to be considered, but it have a couple of issues. I can go through it in more details later, but I don't recommend it to be your best option to start with. If you're looking for low tax jurisdictions or location in Europe, go for Cyprus or Malta. That's the lowest.
yeah.
They have they are not the cheapest, but they have the structure so you can build the business where you pay the less taxes. It's not a tax free. Okay.
That makes sense. I mean, Europe is a high tax
Yes.
continent
Yes.
anyway, so it's
Yes.
quite hard to
Yes.
get away from
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Awesome, cool, Mo. So I think one last thing I want to ask you about this first point we have is for people who want to migrate their existing company. Let's say we've got freelancers in the UK or Germany. I've heard this question a lot of times, and they want to open an offshore company. Would you suggest them to open a company in parallel with the existing one that they have, and so open one in the US, or I don't know, in Cyprus or in the UAE, or they should close down the first company, the original company they have, and then open the second one, which will become the new company? And
I have
yeah,
like a risk approach about this question. Let's give an example. I am Mo. I have a UK company and I decided to register other company. I will keep the UK company running until the US one is fully functioning, at least
Hmm.
after 6 to 12 months. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I minimize all the transaction or everything I do. I make it less in the UK and move everything to the US.
So slowly migrating to the new
Yes,
entity
at
in the
least
US.
6 to 12 months. Yes, yes.
Okay.
At least
Okay. So
don't do like this. Don't just open the US and close the UK. That's a very horrible mistake, because when you open a new company, you are creating a new, you can say, a new identity, a new person. It's like natural. It's like a company to have an identity, but it's not as human. So when you open it, it's still baby, it's still newborn. So when you try to do anything with anyone, you still get used to the other documents and other bank statement from the old one. So keep them parallel until the US is running for at least 12 months, 6 months, depending on what your setup, and then move the structure, and then minimize as much as you can in the UK so you pay less taxes, and then keep everything in the US.
okay, that makes sense, and I guess
Okay.
it's not going to raise red flags if you do it in steps, which is the whole point.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, Mo, that was really good. Thanks a lot. So I hope we cleared a lot of questions. I'm really curious if we're going to have any follow up, so we can do other shows about some particular questions that our audience might have. Moving on to choosing the best location for your offshore and also how to plan. So it's actually opening up an offshore company is not that straightforward in the way that you just decide from one day to another to open it. You have to plan a bit, and in the context of your business, you want to understand what's the best option for you. So, how should people approach opening up the offshore and the mindset and the planning?
Okay, I need to start with a couple of steps when you decided to choose a place. First, don't go to a country that you don't have someone on the ground. Don't just go. You need someone on the ground understanding the rules and regulation about this country that you will open a new company in, so can help you on the process itself. That's the first thing. Don't go to a country that have a language barrier, like in Germany, you can say in France. If you don't speak French or you don't speak German, all the documents and regulation in Germany and France is with their home country language. They don't understand. I mean, everything that you received will be a non-English. So if you're an English speaker, try to go a country. It doesn't have to be the English is the first language, but understand at least they have the mentality and understanding that everything could be processed in English. I have you can experience myself. I opened 8 years ago a company in Berlin. I go through all the process, but it was extremely pain because each task I need to do, I have to translate the document. Even communicating with my lawyers or accountants, even they speak English, but all of the official communication have to be in German, which is, and sometimes we're trying to use the automatic translation. It's getting out of control.
But that
So
doesn't apply for the LLC in the US because
the
everything
OSC
is
is
in
English.
English.
Is English.
Yeah, no
You can
problem.
say yes. That's one thing. Most of the offshore countries. I mean, if you go to let's say the United Arab Emirates, it's have an official language in Arabic, but 99% of things is done in English. They have all the contracts, all the rules and regulation. They have the sheet, one in Arabic sheet and one in English sheet. So they
Okay,
adapting the English as the first language.
that's
Malta is
great.
the same thing. Everything is English. Even they have the Maltese language, but they don't. Cyprus have something, but they understand the English mentality. All the service providers they speak English. Uh, the other, Hong Kong, Singapore,
Pretty clear.
Mauritius, everything in English. Okay, Cayman Island for sure. It's an English language country, so they don't. But if you try to go to other country that doesn't have the English as a language, you need someone to help you with everything, or you understand the language, or know how to get over it. That's
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's why I don't advise to go Estonia. Estonia, these everything could look as English, but if you try to do anything with the government, they send you the Estonian government or the Russian language. They send two versions,
Interesting.
Russian and Estonian, which is if you have any something that you try, even the company notification dealing with the government, it will be with their own language. That's not something wrong, but it will be a hectic or more, you can say, more stress over you running a company remotely.
Okay. And then Mo, can you give us a few examples of, opening up an offshore company depending on the industry you have your business in? Does it matter? How does that work?
It extremely matter because it's like, if you, I will give a couple of examples. If you're trying to have, if you're trying to receive payment from the US and you would like to hook up with the payment processor system, go for the US LCC. But it doesn't matter to you, and you're receiving like an investment, and this investment would like to be tax free, and you have at least 100K, go for the Cayman Island. Cayman Island is a very small jurisdiction. It's zero tax free, but opening the company is, you can say, 10 times the price in the US. Running the company is not cheap because
Yeah.
they are the company, the country itself, or the rules and regulation is mainly suited for, you can say, it's not for small businesses or or at least medium sized
Medium,
businesses
so
where
yeah.
you have a capital and you're investing like a startup and you have multiply locations, but they are very protective. The rules are very easy to understand. It's English language, but dealing with getting the company off the ground and getting up and running, it's not easy. And they also have an option to have you get you residency with the company if you would like to get this option. It's more expensive, but you can get a resident and you leave that 100% tax free in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So I guess for people who just have like a small turnover,
Yeah.
maybe you want to look for Cyprus or like an LLC in the US or something in the UAE. When you grow, after you start making good money, and your business mature, luckily you might want to move it to Cayman Islands or open a company there, assuming your turnover is quite high.
Yes, definitely. And there's always there's a question is like, where is your customer base? If you're doing, you can say, more than 75% of your business with Asia, go for Hong Kong or Singapore.
Okay, so that matters a lot also. What kind of
That's
business
matter.
and where you do it? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
If you're doing business with the Middle East, Africa, go for Dubai or United Arab Emirates, or go for Mauritius.
Okay.
Okay, it's the location. It's like, if you go, if you the location is very important, because it's if you are having a bank account in Asia and receiving money from the Asian customers, it's very easy. They ask less of questions. They understand the rules and regulation. But if you're having like a company, for example, in the US, and all the money is coming from Africa, the US will still ask the questions, why all your customers are coming payment done from Africa, and even you are not African, don't have an address in Africa, and your company is, and you are British and your company is residing in the US. That's it's Try to make it as simple to understand. That's the
Yeah.
location. The location is very important when you decide to plan for the short term or the long term.
So from my understanding, we've got already two very interesting points. The first one is the turnover of your business, how big your business is. Is it a startup? Is it you're a successful freelancer who's doing maybe 300K a year? Then we're talking about maybe Cayman Islands or something like that. So it doesn't matter what your turnover is per year. And two, where do you do your business? Do you have clients in Asia and you get paid in, I don't know, Hong Kong dollars or SGDs? Then maybe you want to register your company there, so you don't get any questions asked about your business from the tax office, right?
Yes,
Um,
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
what else, Mo? What else is there when it comes to choosing the location? Is it related somehow to where you want to live? Do you really have to be in that country or not?
Uh, um, I mean, normally it's
Sorry,
like,
I'll rephrase that. I'll just
okay,
rephrase that. So,
yes.
do you have to live in the country where you register your company offshore, or you can register it in another country and then live in a second one?
The straight answer to this, no, you don't have to live in the country that you are residing in or registering the company in. But
Okay.
there's different, you can say, different levels of living. If you, for example, in the United Arab Emirates, they give you the access to live in the country. So you will be considered tax residency in the United Arab Emirates once you have the company. It's a benefit. Once you have the company, you get the residence. That's it. In the
That's
US,
a very
no.
good perk.
Yes, in
Yeah.
the US, they doesn't give you this. In the Cayman Island, for example, you if you would like to add it, it's not getting the company is something and getting residency, but you can make it one application. I would like to get a company and a resident in the same time.
Hmm.
Mauritius,
Okay.
no, it's like an offshore. For Malta and Cyprus, it's they have the option. If you invest a certain amount level in the investment, and this is go through the company, you will be considered like a kind of investor or entrepreneur, and you can operate the business from the location.
So
Having
in some
yeah,
cases, you do get the residency, and for people who
yes,
don't have it in Europe, it's great because they have access to European market, and I guess it's
yeah,
related to the Schengen visa as well, so you can travel in Europe.
yeah, that's one of the things. And I always for example, when I got an inquiry last time, I mean, someone already has a residency in Spain. Okay, and he processed everything, but the taxes in Spain is very high, so he don't want to open a business in Spain. I advise him keep your residency in Spain. He's not Spanish, okay, and open another EU country, another EU company in another EU state, like in Portugal and in Cyprus and Malta, or even another country which is have a lower taxes compared with the Spain. So you don't have to have the same residency as your company. It's depending on what kind of setup that you would like to have for the short term and the long term.
Yeah, that's definitely very interesting, and I think they're very good points. Probably people don't know about that, but there are different ways to do it, and I think we touched on a few really good points there. Thanks, Mo. I think we wanted also to talk about the opening up a company in multiple locations. So having companies in different countries under a holding, that's a bit more of a complex setup, but I think we should mention how that works and when you should do it and who can do it actually.
It's having like a multiply companies in different locations. This is called like you have an holding company. For example, we get back to the same example we have used. You can have an holding company in the Cayman Island. If you try to search it, it's called Cayman Sandwich. It's a very tricky term, but it's called like this. When you create the main headquarter, or the main headquarter for your business will be in Cayman Island, and then you have an operating company in the US, and you have like another you can say another operating or another investment vehicle in a low jurisdiction like Brazil. Most of the Latin America startups, they have this idea
Setup.
of this Cayman sandwich. That's one of the
Yeah.
things. Or you can have a setup, for example, that's a very tricky example, but it's very well known. Like Amazon have their headquarters in Luxembourg. All the European payment for the EU is running through Luxembourg as Amazon, and then they have a different subsidiary in different countries, and they run the money through the different companies, and then go through Luxembourg, and then go to the headquarter in
And
the
another example would be Dublin for Facebook and Google, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, yes, that's right. And LinkedIn, all the European subsidiary of the startups from the US, they have their headquarter, the European headquarter in Dublin, especially in Ireland, because they have the lowest tax, corporate tax, which is 12.5 percent, which is extremely lower than for example, Germany or France and the
Yeah.
UK. And there's other thing. It's not just about how much tax they are paying. The government are incentivizing all the companies or tech companies to locate their headquarters in Dublin, and this has happened after. I mean, when you follow the money and politics and rules and regulation, they follow each other. When they have a problem in the politics, that's have a effect in the business and then the money. That's why there's many other companies don't try to get out of London, because the taxes are getting up when compared to other low jurisdictions like in Ireland or other places in the EU.
Understood, understood. And more, okay, so going back to the basics, when does it make sense for a successful freelancer or like an entrepreneur that has a big turnover and he's very successful in his startup? When does it make sense for them to open a holding company? And does it even make sense to do that? One, and two, what are the benefits of having a holding company as a startup?
If you are paying more than 100K, for example, sterling or US dollar as a tax, you can save this 100K and you restructure your business with having a holding company in a low tax country.
But let me play devil's advocate here. Can't you
Yeah.
just do that if you're already in a low tax, low corporate tax environment like the US or Cyprus? Like, why do you have to go
You
through a holding company to do all
holding
that?
company is not just about paying low tax. It's trying to protect investors.
Hmm.
I'm an investor and I would like to invest in a startup. And I don't know you. And I would like to protect my investment as much as I can. So I tell you, Andrew, please having a holding company where my investment will not go directly into your bank account. The investment will go into the holding company bank account in a protected place. Okay, for
That makes
example, like
sense.
the
So,
Cayman Island or the United Arab Emirates, and you will not touch the money. Okay, until this is my rules and regulation. And if your business has a liquidation or have filing suits, if you are someone trying to sue you, they will not sue the holding company, they will sue your own company in your home country. The holding company will be protected.
so I guess the holding company then is ideal for people who want to raise money for their startup
Yes,
and they want to protect them and the investors.
that's why if you go to, for example, Y Combinator, the rules and regulation they have, you have to register a Delaware, not an LLC. They have to register Inc. company. You have to register
Inc.
C Corp. C Corp. C Corp. It have more rules and regulation when compared with the LLC. The investors' money are much more protected.
Okay, so C corp for investors, LLC for
Yes,
private
for
business
individuals.
owners,
For individuals, yes.
individuals. Yeah, yeah.
We don't have for example, in the UK, we don't have a difference between the limited company is equal the LLC. To go through, we don't have like something complicated like the C corp. In the UK, you have to go a very complicated structure to set up that. But there's other countries have a similar setup. For there other places or other countries trying to copy the Delaware you
Model,
can model and
model.
and
Yeah,
and put it into their own rules and regulations.
yeah. And more. So just to sum up and close this chapter, so what are the probably the most popular like holding structures? Just give us an overview. Like you don't have to go into details.
You can have an 0% offshore headquarter like in British Virgin Island or Cayman Island or Mauritius or Singapore or Hong Kong or United Arab Emirates, and then you have an operating company. The operating company could be in the UK or the EU or the US, and then you can have another, depending if you are running like small regional businesses like in Africa or Latin America. You could go Brazil and Mexico, and these companies will be not treated as one. Each company will have their own entity, bank account. They have their own money flow, and it will be protected. If anything goes wrong with one of the entity, the other entities will still be running smoothly.
That's very good. So it's kind of a form of protection for the business itself,
Yes,
basically, and for the investors. Yeah,
sometimes they call it umbrella company. So it's like an
umbrella company.
umbrella, and you can come up under the umbrella. Yeah.
That makes sense. Cool. Thanks, Mo. That was very interesting. And I think we want to talk about something really important, which is part of the global digital nomad lifestyle, and also the trend now where people want to open companies in low tax jurisdictions and also live in other countries where it's cheaper, so they benefit the geo arbitrage from the currency and the lifestyle itself, and the local market. So let's talk a bit about the strategy of combining. Opening up a company in a different place in all tax jurisdictions, and also having a low tax residency, plus living in a third country. So how would one do that, and why would they do it?
It's a it's a very simple. That's going to the same question we started at the beginning. That the remote working or the digital nomad, they just come up, and they face that I'm not living in my home high taxes country anymore. I'm enjoying the different lifestyle, a different low cost in a different country. So I'm trying to save taxes as much as I can. I will give like a couple of examples how you can structure a couple of
This lifestyle.
scenarios.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. You could be Canadian and used to run a Canadian company, and then you decided to start your global lifestyle and you moved to Thailand. So you actually still a Canadian citizen, but your residency now in Thailand. Thailand will not tax you on your worldwide income, but you have it residency there. My advice for you is to move or to open another company, not in Canada, in a low country. It could be a low tax country like the US. It could be Cayman. It could be Mauritius. It could be Malta. It could be Singapore. If you decided to leave all your business in Asia, so it's much better Hong Kong and Singapore, and you move most of your business from Canada to the low tax country. You still be living in Thailand. You don't have to change your lifestyle or change your resident. You will be tax residency in Thailand, but the business is operating in another country. Don't keep your paying taxes to Canada because you're not living there anymore. I decided to go out for a couple of years, and the Canadian government will not tax me once I not no longer resident. Okay, so that's how you can structure. You can operate the company in a low tax, and you live totally in a different country. You don't have to live in the same country you register the company in,
Okay. And when
and
it
you play
comes
by the rules.
So that's I think that's pretty clear. Registering the company, that's one step. So you're basically pretty agnostic. It doesn't really matter where you live. The company is like an entity, can live in any country. It's there, does the business, and you can be in a different place. Now let's talk a bit about having a personal tax residency where you obviously want to pay as less tax as possible, and then living in a second or like third country to enjoy a better lifestyle. So
Yeah,
how would one do that?
there's two ways to do it. It's depending of your if you are home country. For example, let's get back to the same question here. Canada will ask you for a tax residency certificate. Residency certificate, you can get it from the local authority. For example, if you are having a company and residence in the United Arab Emirates, you can request them an official tax residency certificate, and you give it to the tax authority in Canada. And that's
As
mean
simple as that. As simple as that.
but there's just one trick. You have to live in the United Arab Emirates for at least 90 days. It was 180, and they reduced it to 90 days. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
So once you have the certificate, you submit it to the Canadian tax authorities, and they will not be able to say no, this is not true, because whatever the other, I mean, there's two ways. There's your home country and the country that you live in. You
Exactly.
can play by the rules. There's no right and wrong here. When anyone come for me and ask for personal advice or one-to-one consultation, I tell him, don't deal with your new country with the same mentality as your old country. They are different. You
Yeah.
have a sender, a receiver. You have a very tough rules and you have a relaxed rules. So don't try to implement the tough rules into the relaxed rules. Your mind will go up, blow up. So take it step by step. Try to understand that the world is not complicated or restrict as you has been taught. And always remember, paying taxes is like it's like dating. You go to the date, you get a dinner and you pay for the bill. You'll not pay for the food until you eat the food. Taxes is like this: you pay for the taxes, you use the roads, you get into the health system, you use the education. But if you are not using all this benefits from your home country, why you still have to pay the taxes? Some countries, the only exception we always know is the US. We have citizenship based taxation, but even if you can claim up to 110K US dollar, uh, as long as you are not living permanently in the US.
So
So
there is also a niche there that you can
yes,
use. Yeah, a
yes,
legal
yes.
niche. Yeah, that's great.
That's the thing. Yeah. So Just try.
Yeah. So just to sum it up, in a lot of countries where you register your tax residency, in most of the countries, if I'm not wrong, you have to be there for a period of time. However, after that period of time is over, or across the year you have exhausted that period of time, you can actually live somewhere else. So even though you're registered in one country as a tax resident with low tax, you're free to move around for maybe, I don't know, 180 days or 200 days a year, which is still great. So you will be spending maybe 3 or 6 months in your, or maybe zero days in the country, or depending on the residence, obviously. You can spend maybe that amount of time in your tax residency country, and then you're free to enjoy life in a third country where you go as a tourist, I guess, or as a visitor.
Yes, I can summarize it into three categories. Some countries, they can give you the tax residency certificate even if you are just spending one day, like Paraguay. The government doesn't look to how many days you're spending. They will not check how many days you are in or out. You get the residency, you pay, you're following the rules, you ask for the certificate, and that's it. You get it.
Okay? And that's it. Then you can live and
you can live
anywhere.
You can live.
You can live anywhere you want in the world.
Yes. That's the thing. Okay. The second stage of countries like the United Arab Emirates, they tell you have to live there at least 90 days. They have their immigration system in and out of the country is very restrictive. They will know the type your residence ID. They will know how many days you are in and out. So
and that's 90 days per year.
Per year.
So you can leave 30 days. You can then leave the country, come back within 60 days, spend another 15 days, and so forth until you sum it up to 90, and then you're free to go anywhere.
That's it. My idea for people who would like to use the UAE is just spend the winter there. Just spend you can say November, December, and January. You can have that's the best 3 months in terms of weather, and you can do a lot of things in the United Arab Emirates at this time, and then you can leave or whatever that you do. And there's other countries which will count your days in and out by the book. It's like the UK, like Canada. Like they have a very restrictive system. They will know how many days you are in or how many days they are out. If you're trying to argue with them and say you have to provide like a travel document, they have to, you will go into trouble. So that's a certain country you count days in and out, and some countries are very flexible, and some countries they don't bother how many days actually in and out. So you need to know which country is that you are dealing with, and some rules are keep changing between. For example, here the UAE, it was 180 days, and now is 90 days. It could go up down as 30 days. It's mean more business for them.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
They're trying to attract more people to set up their residency there. Definitely. So they leave more money in the country and probably invest more.
Yeah. It's a benefit.
Great. A lot of good tips in the show again. So thanks a lot, Mo. Anything else you want to mention about this? Like maybe like an overview or like a final word for the audience on optimizing this combination of tax residencies and offshore companies.
When you're trying to do anything that we have talked about, don't get your advice from someone else who have done it. It's like I have my friend or my family who have done this, and I'll try to follow exactly the same thing you have done. Each individual or each case is totally different. Try to gather as much as information. Try to go to the expat groups on the Facebook and different social media. Try to understand, to learn about the country that you would like to open a business in or get an information in. Try to just imagine yourself living there, and once you have the mindset of this country, you'll be able to get understand other information. But don't follow an amateur advice. Amateur advice is not always. Try to get help. Try to see the some of the picture, but try to use professionals will save you time and money and will give you a long-term plan, not just getting things up and running.
And also something else that I want to add, and I think it's pretty clear from our previous shows, is that one, you don't want to cut all the ties suddenly with your current tax residency country, and two, don't rush it. It's a process.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, totally agree.
Mm-hmm. Cool, Mo. It was great having you again. Until next time, stay safe and safe travels. Take care.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Always stay global, my friends. Bye-bye.